want to ask Nina to sort of think about the antibodies, because to me, certainly, with the advent of antibodies, it's sort of become our, our CHOP Rituxan, hasn't it, in the induction setting. And with that in mind, if you can walk us through really some of the data around daratumumab, which are looking so promising.
Right. We used to think of daratumumab as a relapse refractory drug even 3 years ago. And now we have 4 different trials showing us that, in fact, it is a drug that you can move up front. So the first data that we had was the Alcyone data presented several ASHs ago showing improvement in PFS for VMP Dara versus VMP. It was good because we knew that a quad was better than triple, but not useful, I think, for us in the U.S. because we don't use that. Subsequently to that, we had the DRD versus RD data for transplant ineligible showing increased PFS. Again, something for transplant ineligible. But for us, I think now we have more data with Cassiopeia, which looked at Dara VTD versus VTD, showing an improvement in PFS. There is a second randomization. We don't have that data yet. And that now led to an approval for the quad in the upfront setting for transplant eligible patients, which I think is closer to what our practices are more commonly, as we just heard. Now, Griffin data, which was updated this past ASH, and basically has been updated every single conference since last ASH. It's like the abstract that has many lives. It is showing a very nice overall response rate, very nice CR rates, and as we're talking about it, MRD negativity rates after 4 cycles of Dara RVD transplant and 2 cycles of consolidation, so before maintenance. So this really now brings us to this point of what are we going to do? Are we going to incorporate Dara up front? I do want to also point out that Alcyone has updated for an overall survival improvement. So we know that adding Dara up front, at least in one incidence, has improved that endpoint. I don't know what's going to happen for the Griffin and Cassiopeia. What does this mean for us? I have a trouble with it because I actually think Dara RVD is a great regimen. It's pretty well tolerated. Sure, there were some cytopenias, but that was manageable. But I don't know that it's better than KRD. And I know we're talking about Dara KRD in the future, but let's just talk about what we think about now, KRD versus Dara RVD. That comparison hasn't been done. I think there's some talk of doing that comparison. It'll be very difficult to get endpoints on if they're not MRD. But I think for now, and slowly but surely, Dara is coming to the front. As my colleague Tom Martin always says, you want to put LeBron James in first. You don't want to wait till the end to put your best drug in, and I think that's what's happening.
Thank you, Nina. That's excellent. Other comments, if I may?
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to ask, are you impressed enough with the Alcyone overall survival benefit that was presented now to say that it convinces me that moving Dara up front will confer an overall survival with every other regimen?
No, I mean, we just don't know because I don't think that VMP is the same thing as RVD and transplant. So for me, that was just, okay, good. That's another.
But Cassiopeia doesn't have any maintenance in one arm, so we already know that that's going to.
I mean, right. That's why I think Griffin is, for me, the outcome data.
The challenge is that in the newly diagnosed setting, or even in the smoldering setting, you have so many treatment options down the road that I'm not sure OS is the right endpoint. And I worry.
Wow, I can't believe you are saying that now.
Yeah, no. I'm a PFS guy.
Hashtag.
I do, and I worry that some of these trials in the older, frailer patient where OS is a primary endpoint, it's about access as opposed to actually does that treatment deliver a sustained survival benefit, and that's a messy question.
I think the purpose of the Alcyone to me wasn't so much to look for OS as an improvement. I actually wouldn't have cared if it didn't, but I think there's a question that a lot of people have is this, using your LeBron James early, what are you going to compromise downstream? Are the relapses worse? Are you going to compromise PFS too? And that, to me, is the message from Alcyone, that PFS2 was not compromised,
yes,
OS was not compromised.
Exactly. No, well said, Achai.